evening, everyone. Jennifer Davis here. If you're joining me, say hello. Tonight we're going to talk about Litsea and Manuka. These are the two oils that we are getting for free when we place a 200 PV order this month. Whether you're a brand new person or you have been ordering for a long time, everybody who orders 200 PV or more gets these two oils for free. So I actually haven't placed my order yet this month, but I have had these two oils in my possession for a while. What you're actually getting for free is you're getting a bottle of Litsea, but then you're getting a Manuka Touch, which I do not have. I have the regular Manuka, which is from New Zealand, and it comes in a bottle, so I'm getting it straight. Which I'll be honest with you, diluted was probably a better option for the free. It's a little strong on its own. So let's talk about these two oils. So first of all, I'm going to talk about the physical. I'm going to kind of break down some science for you. But I'm also going to share with you some emotional uses, which is actually how I've been experimenting with them the most. And I have my fabulous Modern Essentials book because there's a couple of things that I've highlighted in here to share with you as well. So if you walk away with nothing, just know that these two oils pretty much cover every anti, whatever you want to call it, issue that you could possibly have. So let's talk about Litsea first. So Litsea comes from the fruit, and I'll show you here what it looks like. So it's the fruit. See that right there? So that is why it smells. So, okay. I have people in my house visiting, and I let them smell this on my fingers. And I got two different, like, oh, it smells like this. And then, as I'm smelling it now, it kind of has a soap smell to it. So right away, the first time I used it, to me, it smelled like a cleaner. And that's because Litsea is antiseptic. So a lot of the antiseptic oils come off to me like a cleaner, like lemon, for example. But what was exciting to my mom about this is she's still not quite used to cleaning her house with clean, toxic-free stuff. So to her, this was her most exciting experience because she can now use this in her spray and her house will smell clean like she's used to when she used to use Lysol. But it's antiseptic, it's antibacterial, it's antifungal, it's antiviral, and so again, it's got all the antis in there. What I love about essential oils is that honestly about all the oils are very much antiviral, antibacterial. Litsea specifically doesn't have a ton of research, and I think it's just because it's a new oil that hasn't really been dealt with like a lot, but it just basically says that the oil from the fruit demonstrated an excellent antibacterial property, and they did a study back in 2016. So that's really the extent of the study, but there's a really cool historical use for this oil. So back in Taiwan and China, history was they used it to treat pain, asthma, digestive issues, and they've been doing it for centuries. So if you've been using oils for those things like pain and asthma and digestive issues and it's not really working, or maybe you're not quite getting the results that you got at first, you might just want to add Litsea to your protocol. So add it to your breathe. Litsea is safe to be used topical, aromatic, and internal, and it actually says you don't need to dilute it. I've been using it on me for a couple of months and I haven't noticed any skin sensitivity, so I've been doing a little experimenting. I can be your guinea pig on this oil. No sensitivities. I haven't really put it like up in the face or anything, but when I've used it here, it's been totally fine. Now, historically, there are some possible uses that I actually thought was really interesting. I tried to do some digging, but couldn't find really any more information about this. And that is that Litsea could possibly help with heart arrhythmia, and also throat congestion. So if you've got, and I'm just gonna throw this little one out here, maybe like a reflux issue, I kind of would be curious how this one would work. So if you're dealing with either one of those issues and you want to experiment with this, I would love to hear your testimony and kind of like how it worked for you. So again, these are oils that we just haven't been using a lot of, and so we don't really have a lot of testimonials on it. So one of the things about Litsea, and I wanted to break down some science here. So Litsea is really high in what we call aldehydes. Aldehydes are the constituents that bring the fragrance into an essential oil. So that's why Litsea is really strong, and immediately I'm like, ooh, like I want to make sure that I dilute this one because it's super strong. So it's gonna have a really powerful aroma. So what's really cool is that when you dilute it, or maybe if you're putting it in a diffuser and you just do one drop, it'll serve its purpose. So it'll make that oil last a lot longer for you. Litsea's also, or those aldehydes are also very calming to the emotions, calming to the central nervous system, and can also irritate the skin. So we want to be mindful of that as well. Now, I was sharing that I haven't had any skin irritation, but again, I'm using it right here. I haven't tried it like up here or even on the face, which sometimes I do, but I don't really see why I would use Litsea in that area. But if you're dealing with asthma and you want to try it for that, you might want to add some coconut oil to it if you find that it's causing some skin irritation. And then of course, aldehydes are the thing that has that antiseptic action as well as an antiviral quality, but specifically antiviral for things like herpes. So that is the information that I have on Litsea. So I actually am kind of excited to clean with this one, but let's talk about, actually, I'll talk about emotional uses for both of these after I talk about the health. So the next oil is Manuka. Now I like Manuka just a little bit better, and I'm really excited to get Manuka Touch in because this one is pretty strong, but I think having it in a touch blend, which means it will be diluted, will be a little bit more pleasing to the nose. So when I smell this, like, some oils in some regions of the world do something to my brain where I feel like connected to the place that it came from. It's really weird. So it came from New Zealand. Already I'm thinking, man, I want to go to New Zealand. Like, I just want to feel the culture that this oil has been in use for so long. And so it has some really cool historical uses that I found for it. So first of all, Manuka comes from the leaves, the flowers, and the branches. Let me show you a picture of what that one looks like. It's a really pretty flower. Look at that. So it comes from that whole plant. How cool is that? That makes it probably a little easier to get a hold of. But also because it comes from leaves, flowers, and branches, that's going to make it more of a diverse chemistry and a more diverse oil to use for our emotions. So it comes from the myrtle family, and it's specific to things like respiratory infections, arthritis, rheumatism or rheumatoid arthritis, and it's actually not suggested for internal usage. So this is going to be your topical oil and the oil that you diffuse. So history, I might butcher this name. It's the Maori people that are from New Zealand. You know, the ones that with the tattoos and they do the haka. I think I'm saying that right. This like powerful like yelling and stomping of the feet. And I'm getting chills just thinking about it. So when I smell this oil, I'm immediately thinking of that culture, and it's just amazing. But they've been using it historically for bronchitis, rheumatism, and then other similar conditions that come from those. So you could try it for asthma. I'd be really curious to see how that works. And anybody with joint pain, inflammation in the joints, that kind of stuff. It's also really good for skin problems, specifically chronic sores. So if you are the kind of person that gets a sore, you know, chronically, like I used to have an issue where I'd always get little canker sores in my mouth and they would take forever to heal. Or you easily get, like, let's say you nick your skin and it turns into a sore, like that kind of thing. Ringworm, eczema, fungal issues, scalp itch, and dandruff. So I would be curious if anybody's dealing with any of those issues, use it and definitely share your story. So Manuka is really high in a chemistry or a constituent called or sesquiterpenes. So I wanted to say it slow for you, which is also what we find in things like ylang ylang and frankincense and vetiver and myrrh and ginger. And that is a component that is known to be one of the constituents that help to break the blood-brain barrier. So any oil that's high in that constituent is going to be good for the brain. And so not only that, but it's still antibacterial, anti-inflammatory, but also it's hypotensive, so it's going to be good for your low blood pressure. It's also a mild sedative, so I'm thinking baby is getting this oil on him tonight. But also liver and gland stimulant. So liver issues, those glands, your lymph nodes and stuff, that kind of stuff. Studies show that it increases oxygenation around the pineal and pituitary gland. Isn't that cool? So if you want to know more about that, you can do a little Googling on the pineal and pituitary gland and kind of see what those are for. So imagine if you had a little bit more oxygen around those two things, they'll function a little bit better, which those are your control centers for your emotions and your hormones. And so that would be really helpful. And so then there's some question, is it an effective blood-brain barrier? Well, there's, again, not enough research on this newer oil to really know for sure. It's also got larger molecules, so it's not going to be an oil that you'd put on your skin and it would like get in there as quickly as some of the other oils. So you definitely are going to want to use this one with some peppermint if you are, like, let's say wanting to put it over your liver to kind of help stimulate the liver a little bit more. You're going to add a little bit of peppermint or an oil that offers that vasodilation. So that is what that is for. So let's talk about our emotions. And this is actually why I got so excited about these oils. So over the winter, the New Emotions book came out with the new oils. And when I opened it up, I was really excited. You know, I'm reading about blue tansy and copaiba and stuff. And then I noticed Litsea and Manuka's in here. And I was like, what? We don't even sell these oils. I actually found out that we sell them to Australia, and the reason why is because Australia is a smaller market and they're not going to deplete this essential oil or these two essential oils like the United States would. So that is why they're not available. So I went looking for somebody in Australia to send me these two oils because of the specific things that they do for our emotions. So can you tell I'm a little bit more excited about this? So let's talk about Litsea first. So guys, I'm going to get really vulnerable here with you, so please just be kind to me. At the time when I was reading about these oils, my husband and I were actually going through individual therapy, separate from each other, and getting ready to come together in couples therapy. Now, why? I mean, we were fine, but I believe every couple needs a little tune-up, but within that tune-up, we actually discovered we had some deep issues that we needed to deal with. These two oils were the thing that took me to that point where I went over the cusp that I needed to go over in that work that I was doing mentally and emotionally. So Litsea is basically a powerful mobilizer of the will. What does that mean? At first, I really wasn't sure, but it's especially helpful in encouraging individuals to follow through on their inspiration and promptings. So for example, in my therapy, when it was like, you really need to talk to your husband about this and get this issue out in the open, it was kind of like, okay, you need to do it. But specifically for me, in my business and as a homeschooling mom and in the other areas, this is where this oil spoke to me specifically. So here is what it said. Litsea instills the courage to face the fear that comes immediately after inspiration. It reminds individuals to take that leap of faith into the unknown. It teaches one that you must learn to trust the inner voice and rise above the fear of rejection, being misunderstood, or the need for external confirmation. How many people are needing external confirmation? I want to do this thing, so I'm going to go tell this person about it, and they're going to say, do it, and then that's going to make me want to do it. So that's what external confirmation is. So I really, really like that one. It deals with negative emotions such as self-doubt and criticism, stifled, fear of rejection, relying on external confirmation, distracted, blocked, and limited. So it's going to help you feel more inspired, which honestly, I don't need too much of that. I'm pretty inspired already. Intuitive, aligned, receptive, trusting of your inner voice, clarity, and open to possibilities. This oil has been key in improving some areas of my prayer life. And it's not the oil doing the work. It's simply the oil addressing different emotions in my body to help me be like, okay, I'm going to work on that. So let's talk about Manuka. So I love this oil. When I read this the first time, I was like, oh my gosh, this is like the oil that is your lovey, or that blanket that you see a child that just wraps themselves in and they just need it to go to sleep. Or have you ever been in a situation where you're just totally drained emotionally and you just get to that safe place or that safe person? Manuka is the oil of being upheld. Manuka is your lovey. It's your security blanket. It's that person that holds space for you. So that's why that oil is so amazing. So here's some things. One thing I notice is it really helps me to come to a place of gratitude. So every day I like to actually write down, I have my journal that I write in, and at the end of the day I sit down in my journal, and before I start asking for prayer requests or dealing with that kind of stuff, I'm always in there gratitude writing. What are the things that I'm grateful for that happened that day? And I think of every little thing. And what that does for me is it helps me feel like better about my life. So I really like that. It really helps you get into a place of gratitude. Manuka also offers powerful healing energy to bind up wounds, soothe troubled hearts, and nurture souls back into a state of like centeredness or balance would be another word. Powerful healing energy to bind up wounds. Has somebody hurt you in the past? Are you having a hard time dealing with that and closing that wound up and moving on in your life? Then this might be the oil for you. Manuka offers energetic safety, shielding from the intense problems all around the individuals when they feel powerless to change. That was me in my therapy. I had all these issues laid out and I was just like, I can't change these things. And I felt completely powerless in it. And when I read in this book what that oil is good for, I could not believe it. So I started using the oil and I was like, well, first of all, it gave me the drive and the motivation to go find somebody in Australia, which I don't know anybody, and get those oils ordered. I spent $110 on these oils. I included shipping. So they're not cheap. And so what's really cool is that we're getting them for free when we do a 200 PV order. So this is the perfect time to stock up on the things that we've been talking about the past couple of weeks. Your On Guard products, your back to school, your vitamins, or maybe you're in tune for some focus. Your kids having trouble focusing in school. Or homeschool moms, you need oils to help keep you from feeling stressed out and overwhelmed and crazy sometimes when we're teaching our kids new things. So definitely want to stock up on this stuff this month and get these two oils in your hand so that you can start using them for the things that we talked about. So like if you're having trouble with arthritis and you've been using Deep Blue all along and it's just kind of like just not quite what you want, add the Litsea to that, or your Manuka, because they're both good for that kind of stuff. Or if you've got asthma and you've been using Breathe and frankincense for so long, but you still have a little bit of those symptomatic feelings, then add that Litsea to that. So these oils are going to be really helpful for you in doing some things that maybe you've been doing all along, but you can add them in. And I did find out that doTERRA is actually trying to find more sustainable ways to grow these essential oils and make them available to us here in the United States. But until then, if you know somebody in Australia, send them my way. Let's get them in this group so we actually have a resource of someone that can order these for us every once in a while. So, okay guys, I hope this was super helpful for you. Again, if you have the Modern Essentials book, and this is actually the 9th edition, you can purchase this book at Aroma Tools. I think it's still on sale for $16.95, which is $10 cheaper than normal. I think. Don't hold me to that. I could be totally wrong. But that book is there available, but it has those 2 oils in there so that you can learn a little bit more about them. But I'll be honest with you, there's not a whole lot of research on them, so there's not as much information on these 2 as there are in some other essential oils. So I hope this was helpful. Have a great night, and I will see you guys next Monday. Oh, one other thing. The other thing that I'm doing this month is the prize drawing for the LRP Club is not going to happen this month because I wanted to do something a little bit different. For anybody who does a 200 PV order, and I do have a way to find that out, then they're actually going to get labels to make their own custom roller bottle blends of their own using these 2 oils. Actually, I meant to print out a label sheet so you guys could see what it looked like, but I'm sorry, I forgot. And then you would only need, I think, 6 10 ml roller bottles, which you can actually order those on your order. So when you place an order for oils, up in the little search bar, there's a spot that you can type in like roller bottles and it should come up. But if not, it's in the DIY accessories section. You can have roller bottles, there are spray bottles, pipettes, stuff like that. So, okay. So that's what I'm doing this month for customer appreciation. Everybody who does a 200 PV order is going to get some labels to make their own custom roller bottle blends. But not only that, you get recipes, so you have that as well. Have a great night, everyone. I'll see you next week.